There, we are recording, and just to let everybody know how we use the recording and some of the protocols that we have in place if privacy is a concern for you. Um, we will be posting this to our YouTube channel. We always have the provision that if there's anything that gets mentioned during the session today that you don't want going out, let us know, and we will just simply edit that part out of the recording. We also use presenter view for the when we're actually going through the talk. So basically, it'll just be my head and nobody else will show up unless you speak. And when you speak, you can always change your name, the name that shows up, and you don't have to have your camera on. So if you have any concerns about your image being displayed or your name being displayed, you feel free to mask that. And likewise, that'll only become an issue if and when you speak. And like I said, we also are more than happy to edit out anything that you don't want in there. So, and primarily the reality of this too is we probably know all 20 people who are likely to see this on YouTube. So, it also will not, it's unlikely that this will go viral in any way. And yet your concerns are valid. So, I did hit record, right? Yes. Welcome, everyone. And as is our custom, here at the Lifeboat Academy, we always start with a land acknowledgement. And I generally channel Norm Leach in my land acknowledgements, where he reminds us and I remind us that we start by acknowledging the land because the land was here before we were. The land will continue here long after we are gone. We only exist as people because the land saw fit to rise us up. And when we talk about the land, we are actually not speaking about lines on a map. We are talking about an interconnected web of all living things, and even some things that people consider not living. So we're talking about the water and the air and the plants and the animals and the rocks and all of the forces of nature that allow us to continue to live. And we start with that as a way of reminding ourselves of the big picture and our role in it, and as hopefully an inspiration for us to live in right relations with all of our relations, and recognizing that that often means we need to repair where relationships have gone poorly and where harms have happened. And it is in that spirit as well, we express not only our gratitude to the indigenous cultures of the world that have learned this lesson again and again and shared this lesson with us, but also as a reminder that our relationships with indigenous peoples have been harmed. And it is up to us to, and not just indigenous people, our relationship with lots of peoples have been harmed. And so may this be an inspiration to us to do what we can to live in right relations. And so with that, I also encourage us all just to take a moment to ground ourselves and do whatever feels comfortable for you. If it feels okay, you might want to just close your eyes, relax into the support of the chair where you are, and just take a few deep breaths in and out. As you're breathing in, feel the energy in the air entering your body. As you exhale, feel the relaxation that comes as your body just settles more firmly into the support beneath you. Knowing as you're breathing in and out that you are participating in a reciprocity cycle that is a metaphor for all of the different cycles of giving and taking. And as you release your breath, be aware that you're also releasing things that no longer serve you. So maybe take one last deep breath in, and on the exhale, just let go of anything that keeps you from being present today. Let the earth receive it, knowing that the earth gladly receives it and renews it and returns it to us fresh and new. And when you're ready, find your way back to the circle. So thank you all for being here and to be part of our Lifeboat Builder orientation and for your interest. And I guess, just to make sure we are all on this, starting off on the same page, the Lifeboat Academy is all about supporting people who are building resilience and regeneration in your local community at the person, place, and community level. So when we talk about a lifeboat, what we are really talking about is a personal place-based resilience network, whatever that means to you. And we recognize that lifeboats take many different forms. So it could look like a community farm or a co-housing community. It could look like an ecological restoration project or a food hub, a makerspace, a tools library. It could also not be a physical thing. It could be a mutual aid network, or it could be any project that is encouraging stronger relationships at a community level. They also can be urban, rural, or suburban. They can take place anywhere around the world. And some of them might just be starting off. Some of them may only be an idea, and some of them may be well established. So there are lots of different forms for lifeboats, and there are lots of different ways to be a lifeboat builder. Some people are going to be seasoned community organizers who are coming in with decades of experience, but still looking for more support. Some people are going to be people who don't think of themselves as organizers, who are just trying to figure out how they can develop some more support in their life. What we all share is that we are climate alarmed and collapse aware. And basically, we come together around a general sense that things are a little bumpy and are likely to get bumpier. And we want to figure out how we can respond to the polycrisis, basically. And part of that is a recognition that this is not simply a technical exercise, that what we are going through is unavoidable. Grief is unavoidable in what we are going through. We are going to be grieving for things that we were hoping for that may not happen now. And we are going to be grieving for things that we have to watch lose, go away. And there's a lot of work involved in processing that grief. And that's part of the work that we're doing here. But hopefully what we are doing is working through that to get to a place where we can take action, where we can be supportive in all of the relationships in our life right now. And there are lots of different aspects of the polycrisis that all require attention, and no one person is able to attend to all of them. And so the other thing about Lifeboat Builders is we all have a different focus, and actually that's one of the ways we weave together our strengths. So you may be most interested in justice or food or reconciliation or in personal or intergenerational healing. We recognize all of these are necessary. They're all part of the Venn diagram. And so there's no litmus test around, are you working on the right aspect of it? We recognize it's all good for the cause. And so with that in mind, and also because we are fundamentally a relational organization, we want to start by giving everyone a chance to introduce yourself and say where you are geographically in the world, and also where you're coming from in terms of what a lifeboat means to you. What is it? Why are you even here today, interested and curious about what it might be like to be part of our cohort? And the circle today, as I see it, is Janine, Becca, Anne, Roland, then me. And I will put that in the chat while I hand it over to Janine to say a few words about where you're coming from and what does building a lifeboat mean to you.
Yes, hi, my name is Janine. I'm geographically in the moment in Germany, in a small city near Berlin. Yeah, I lost a little bit the plan on what to talk about, but I will continue in what a lifeboat means to me. I think for me it's a lot about building relationships with other people who share the same ideas or different ideas, to have like an respectful exchange about probably, I don't know, problems, solutions for the problems, or anything you would like to share. And I was really interested in being a part of it. So I'm here today.
Over to you, Becca.
Hi, I'm Becca in Madison, Wisconsin, in the United States, territory of the Ho-Chunk people known as Dejop. And I'm recently moved to a co-housing community with my husband and my two adult stepchildren who have disabilities also live here in their own units. And I'm on the meeting facilitation, I'm the chair of the meeting facilitation team, and have done community work for many years, but and lived in an intentional community in my 20s, and um, but I'm kind of returning to it after a number of years of doing less of it, and so kind of looking for support about that, and um, um, but just wanting to be part of a bigger response, a bigger, more hopeful response to climate crisis, and the poly crisis. And I've been involved with the planning, sort of like the really behind the scenes legal financial stuff for Lifeboat, but I haven't actually been participating very much in the programming, and wanting to do more of that. And really, Ben, what you said about grief spoke to me a lot, and just recognizing like I haven't quite sold my house and my ceramic studio, and I'm grieving giving up those things, but I'm intending to do it largely because of sustainability, both environmental and in terms of family caregiving needs. And my husband's 14 years older than I am, and I'm 57, and kind of trying to think about the aging in place possibilities of this community. And yeah, there's a lot of long-standing dynamics here. It's been around since 2008, and so trying to like offer things that could improve dynamics without being overly fix-it-minded. And I was also a consultant to this community before I lived here a number of years ago, and they have a lot of interpersonal skills already, so it's not like a it's not a complete fixer-upper, but um, uh, it's great actually in many ways. So yeah, that's kind of the and I did get out to visit Ben and Rolana Pender in last fall, and just really love the group process, circle practice kind of stuff that you bring, and want more of it in my life. Over to Anne.
Thanks, Becca. My name is Anne. I am in Arizona in the southwestern United States, in the desert and the big city. And I think I'm still exploring what it means, what lifeboating means. What comes to mind in the moment is a desire to enjoy every day. It's like, how can I just have an enjoyable, meaningful, satisfying, delicious day in the midst of everything that's happening? And I think that's my curiosity around a lifeboat. Like, what does that mean in given the poly crisis? How do I have a good day and help others to have good days when so much stuff is happening every second? Yeah, so I think that's my curiosity. I'm list, like when you show that slide with all the list, I don't identify as a community organizer at all. So that was an interesting thing that stood out for me. And I'm curious about um like mutual aid, ecological restoration, urban, like how do like ecology in the urban space, and then connection, like these types of connections with people like all of you who have questions and are wondering their way through life. It's very satisfying to me. So I'm excited to continue to deepen relationships with the Lifeboat Academy friends. And over to Roland.
That would be me. That's my name. And I currently live on Sideus, which is also known as Pender Island, and is on the unceded territory of the Wasanic people. And that is located in what is currently known as Canada and British Columbia, Canada. And yeah, and in fact, what Anne was just talking about informs what I want to share about what a lifeboat means for me. And it's the phrase, building the lifeboat is the lifeboat. I don't think of myself as a community organizer either. And I also don't want to be organized by an organizer. So what I'm looking for and what I think is what actually works is in a way we're all community organizers, because and that organize what's a self-organizing system is, and I'm making this up as I'm talking, so bear with me. What's a self-organizing system but different elements that play different roles working together? So just the fact that I'm participating in something like this makes me a community organizer without the idea of being a leader. I think that's what I balk at the idea of being a leader, as in you have to be the fixer. And instead I want to be part of a group or a network of people and organizations, and I really like the idea of different people, different organizations that have different strengths and different focuses working together to. And I think it's just an acknowledgement of this complex system that we're part of. I can't do everything, and I can't know everything, and I can't fix everything, but I can do some things. And I want to be able to offer that and to build the culture of reciprocity where I can offer what I can do and I can receive what others can do. So I think that's what a lifeboat means to me. Over to Ben.
Yeah, well, and Anne, you were talking about still trying to sort out what building a lifeboat means to you, and I think this is echoing Roland. I mean, yeah, me too. It's like this constantly evolving idea, but I think what's resonating with me lately for a long time has been, what does it mean to decolonize myself? And that seems synonymous to me with what does it mean to heal whatever. I'm currently reading The Master and His Emissary, which is written by Ian McGilchrist, and it's about the different character of the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain. And he has this whole thing about how basically they're both necessary, but the left hemisphere has a tendency to sort of be bossy and to think that's the only game in town. And we've created a society that has become almost exclusively left hemisphere. And so right now, I've been thinking a lot about how do I heal the brain damage that I've received as part of my socialization, and to find more, to let more right brain in my life. And I think that's all we've been talking about, recognizing you're part of a bigger whole, relationality, not trying to fix things, not thinking there is necessarily a fixed, so for me, and that just seems to be paraphrasing what Roland's saying around, yeah, it's about figuring out what's mine, what's not mine, what's my role to play, how can I actually help, and how do I also get what I need to be able to do that. So that gives us a little sense of where we're all coming from. And the next thing too, that what the Lifeboat is all about, what the Lifeboat Academy about, is how do we support each other in that work. And so one of the things a seed that I want to plant as we're moving into becoming the cohort is identifying where our growth edges are. So where is it that you want to be putting your effort? Where does it feel like you have the kind of biggest bang for the buck? And what kind of supports are you looking for around that? So that's what we want to do with the Lifeboat Academy, is we want to identify what we have to offer and what we need as supports, and figure out how we fit those things together in a way that is mutually beneficial. And so I know a lot of the kinds of things that come up for people, and there's a long list of the kinds of challenges that we're addressing. A lot of them have to do with resources and finances, partly recognizing that we are in an economic system that doesn't necessarily value the healthiest things. And so that often means that we're finding ourselves in material constraints when we're trying to do good in the world. Similarly, I think related to that, it's often difficult to find engagement of others locally in our projects. It's easy for people to express interest. It's hard for people to show up. There's also the hell is other people issue of, problem personalities, and we're all a little bit wounded, and we're all a little easy to trigger. And so, that is, dealing with other people is always a dynamic to take into account. And then there's sort of the intrapersonal part of, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. It's really easy to feel like there's too much. We're on our own. We're all alone. And I think for me, all of these kind of cluster around the real challenge that we have right now is business as usual. We know that the systems, we're in this mess because of how business as usual has worked. And that's part of the challenge, because we're vaguely aware that what we've been doing isn't working, but we're not entirely sure what the new alternative is. So how do we move past business as usual, let go of what doesn't work, and figure out how we can move forward better? And also, I think in this group, I don't have to really repeat it, but our goal is not about creating a lifeboat, but is really about creating a network of lifeboats. Recognizing that we all have important work to do in our own communities, on our own projects, but how do we support each other through a network where we can be sharing resources and moral support across that network, and be to help us all stay afloat. So ultimately, what we think our ask and our offer is, the offer is that the Lifeboat Academy can make spaces available and processes available that allow you to show up where you are, warts and all, wherever you happen to be in your project, and to help you figure out, connect the dots and figure out what you need to move forward. So basically, we can create the spaces that allow peer-to-peer connection to happen in a supportive way. And what we need for that to be able to work is for people to be willing to let go of what isn't working, and for people to show up, be accountable, practice reciprocity and right relationship. And actually, one of the people in the session yesterday made a great point, which is we may not always be in right relationship, but we are in active negotiations to figure out what right relationship means. And that's true for all of these things. There's no expectation here that you will show up as a fully enlightened being but that we know that there is a goal of we work better when we can show up. And so what that looks like in the particulars is we've planned out an annual cycle that is really based on one of our core mottos here at the Lifeboat is aim, act, reflect. We treat everything as a series of experiments that allow us to adapt and learn as quickly as possible. So we've set up an annual process to facilitate that. And it starts now where we are doing some prep work for starting our new cohort, which we will launch in the beginning of February. And that gets launched with what we call our Lifeboat 101. And I'll unpack this as we move forward. But basically, Lifeboat 101 is where we all come together and we basically co-create the winter term from a menu of options. So we have a number of different things that we can offer. And then basically as a group, we determine which of these feel like they're useful and what do we want to add to it to make it as useful as it can be for us. And then during that winter term, then from February to April is really where we're kind of doing, to use a bad metaphor, it's where we're kind of doing some of the book learning and preparation for launching our experiments. And the main role or the main chunk of time over the year from May to October is really just an opportunity to put your experiments to work, to try doing what you say you're going to do with some feedback mechanisms, some support structures that allow you to deal with any difficulties that come up and to keep the process moving forward in a productive way. And then in November, we do a deep dive in a reflection process where we look back on our own projects and we also share in a way where we're weaving together the lessons that we're all learning. And it's intentionally set up to work with the seasonality of the year. So as fall is progressing, we wrap up the activity of the year, and that sets us up so that in that sort of December, January hibernation period, we can be envisioning what we're going to do in 2026 and how we can grow that project. So, oh, and in terms of questions, as we go through, we'll have a lot of time for questions at the end. But if you have any questions as we go through, feel free to just raise your hand and we'll take your questions. So the prep work between now and the beginning of February is really two things. One is to clarify what project you might want to work on. And I will say from the very beginning, everything here is optional. Nothing is required. It's picking the pieces that feel like they're going to be most useful for you. But having a concrete project to work on will really facilitate the process. So even if it's a vague idea, even if it's a very small kind of project, having something to work on will give this a lot more focus and meaning. And in terms of the preparation necessary between now and when we start, we don't need an actual project plan with any detail. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't even have to be written, though again, encouragement for actually writing it down as a process. But really, it's just to get you thinking about at the highest level, your North Star, what's the vision behind this that really is motivating why you want to do this work? What would the model part, what might that look like if you could implement it in reality? If you could take the vision and ground it in something real? What are some of the expectations you have around that, both some assumptions you're making and some, if I do this, I think I'll get that kind of expectations? Thinking about where it makes the most sense to really focus your attention, where's the growth edge, the potential there? And then what are just some ideas of actions you could take that you think would move you in that direction? And then the other part of this is what we're calling your book report. And the book report is really setting us up so that we can start to understand our peer-to-peer resources. So in the work that you're doing, in the work that you feel called to do, what are 3 to 5 inspirational sources or resources? It could be a book, it could be a person, it could be a philosophy, it could be lots of different things. But what are the 3 to 5 things that you keep coming back to or that keep motivating the work that you're doing? And more importantly, why are they inspiring and how have they shaped the work that you do? And we'll talk a little bit about why this is important in the Lifeboat 101, but really it's just kind of thinking about what are your intellectual ancestors here? Who are the influences that are shaping the project as you move forward? And then once you have that, basically we start with our Lifeboat 101. Some of you have actually participated in the first iteration of this, and we're just evolving it. And it is mostly an opportunity for us to share what are the projects that we want to work on, why are they important to us, what are our inspirations, and to find out where there are and what kinds of supports we are looking for, and then where there are mutually beneficial connections. So the idea is that we will all come together and sort of share what we're working on, and we'll walk away with an outline for the elements that we want in our winter term. And we can pick those elements from a menu of options that we have easily available as supports that we can offer. One is our continuation of the Connect the Dots Club. And these are online circles that provide relationship building opportunities and self-exploration of some of the deeper topics. So we use two different frameworks of questions. One's called the 6 Conversations framework, and the other one are the deep adaptation questions. And we apply them all basically to, what does building a lifeboat mean to you? But there are all of these different aspects that the questions will highlight. And so it gives us an opportunity to go a little bit broader and deeper to think about the context for your project. The other thing that we offer is we have some already developed webinars that if people are interested, we can host whenever people are interested. And again, it's all on a sort of choose your own adventure basis. One is on Sociocracy 101. We do base our work on Sociocracy 3.0, and the Sociocracy 101 lays out the tools that we think are most useful in organizing a community. What are some of the really valuable tools? And Sociocracy is meant to be used like a toolkit. So there are lots of tools in the kit. You don't need to know all of them or use all of them, but they're nice to know that they're there. Likewise, we have a framework that we've developed about how to build your own lifeboat that has 5 components. So we have a webinar that lays out those 5 components, but then we also have deeper dives on each of the underlying elements, which involves mapping your assets, learning how to host productive circle conversations, strategy sessions, setting up experiments, and debriefing those experiments. And then we also have a webinar on a process called navigating via tensions. It comes from Sociocracy. That's a really handy tool. Roland, question.
I just wanted to say about the Sociocracy 101. I attended and I use Sociocracy, and I just want, because I've got in my mind being organizer versus organized versus being part of, and there are all sorts of elements of Sociocracy that I use in my conversations and my relationships with other people who have no idea what Sociocracy is. So it's also a really useful way of learning how to speak more easily with other people. So I wanted to add, it's not about becoming for me, it was not about becoming a community organizer, but rather there's a whole wackadoo of really useful tools in learning how to be with other people in better ways.
Cool. That's a very good point. In fact, I think sometimes Sociocracy works best if you never say you're doing Sociocracy. It can, anyhow, so those are the just-in-time webinars available if people are interested. And then we also want to propose deep dives that are identified in our Lifeboat 101. And this is really the start of our peer-to-peer sharing. Basically, what we found in our first round is There are some people who really love their inspirations, they really love their resources and want to share them with other people. And there are other people who are curious about it and maybe don't know a lot. So what we're hoping we can do in the Lifeboat 101 is identify some of those resources that people really are curious about, and the people who already know something about it and would like to present, from my perspective, this is what's important to know about fill in the blank. So that's really an opportunity for people to then start learning from and sharing with each other. Also in the spirit that you really learn something well by teaching other people. So a way of becoming more familiar with your own favorite sources is by being able to introduce other people to it. We have a variety of support circles that we offer up. They are both based on a circle process. And from one perspective, they look very, very similar. But from another perspective, they are yin and yang. So the agreement circle is really an opportunity to develop deeper relationships. The focus of the agreement circle is, what do I need to be able to show up? And how do we build that space together? So the agreements are, how do we want to be with each other? And the agreement circles are a way of going deeper into how we want to be with each other. Navigation sessions are using the navigating via tensions process, and they are a tool to bring out when things aren't going great, right? And so by hosting regular navigation sessions where we're not crisis oriented, it starts to develop some really good tools to happen when it does feel a little bit more like a crisis. And the whole idea is, it's a sort of permaculture principle. The problem is the solution. So rather than what is kind of the conventional way of treating tensions as it's a sign of something bad happening, is we actually embrace them and we say tensions are great learning opportunities if we unpack them in the right way. And so they are an opportunity. So anyhow, the navigation sessions are a way of learning that skill and applying it to your own work. We also offer some personal support. So we have a template for a project development plan that we share widely. And if it's useful for you, it can walk you through breaking down some of those different questions around the aspects of the plan that might be useful to have a little attention on. We also offer mentoring sessions and office hours. And the mentoring sessions, I will be doing some of them, but they are not limited to me or even the core team. So one of the things we'll be doing is trying to figure out where there's good pairings, where people can mentor, where somebody is looking for the kind of support and mentoring that somebody else would be well suited to and interested in offering. So the other element of this is getting involved in the Lifeboat Academy guilds. This often creates a little bit of confusion, but the idea is, by participating, we have established a fairly healthy sociocratic process in the Lifeboat Academy. So by getting involved in our guilds, you get some experiential learning on how to put those sociocracy tools into practice. And at the same time, it helps with reciprocity, because all of this is done on a pay it forward gift economy idea. So we're looking for ways where it is literally mutually beneficial. And one of those opportunities is to get involved in the guilds. And there's a lot with sociocracy, and there's a lot, I think, transitioning from business as usual to more right brain ways of being that are hard to explain, but easy to experience. And so being involved in the guilds is a way of having that kind of direct experience, where you could spend hours and hours and hours trying to describe it. And then you can just give people one direct experience, and you get a lot more distance there. So those are all of the potential ideas that are, from the menu of options, what we can do in the winter term, plus anything else that people want to propose and follow through on to offer to the good of the cause. We will culminate the winter term I think in April. Yeah, probably late April. We'll have an opportunity for people to present their plan. What is it that you're planning on doing during the experimentation phase? It's an opportunity to celebrate and get excited about your ideas for, what you're hoping to do, and also to develop some accountability. So you put it out there, here's what I think I'm going to do, here's what I think I'm going to get from it. And here's the kind of support or feedback that I am looking for as I move forward. Once we do that, then everyone's off to the races, and it's an opportunity to put your plans into action. Probably should mention you don't have to wait till May. This can be something that you're continuing to work on right now. Everything is, we're used to working on in an evolving situation, so the timelines are here as kind of guidelines more than anything hard and fast. And to support that work, we'll continue to offer whatever supports people feel are necessary throughout the term. And we'll also sponsor or we'll host an August regroup where sort of in the middle of this process, you can take a pause, talk about how things are going, make some refinements to the plan, and then still have the fall to continue on moving towards your goals. And then in November, we'll lead a deeper dive in reflecting on how that went, what you learned, what worked, what you want to build on, and what you can let go of. So that's basically the gist of it. It is everything is meant to be a choose your own adventure, so you don't have to commit to everything. You get to select how you want to be involved. And it is meant to be very flexible, and the goal here is to help you do what you are already doing. I think one of the misunderstandings people often have is that you're entering into something new. This is really something that is to enhance what you're already working on, even if what you're already working on is a vague idea. This will also help you get that vague idea into something more that you can get your hands around. And I think that's pretty much it. Now it's just opening the floor for questions or responses. And what we did yesterday that worked pretty well was we'll just do popcorn style. If you have any questions for clarification, just raise your hand. And then once we've answered those questions, we'll just go around and sort of get everyone's where are you now, having heard what you've heard. So questions for clarification or thoughts, reactions are also welcome here too, but we'll do popcorn style first, and then we'll do a circle. Becca.
Thanks. That was awesome. I'm excited and I really hope I can be part of it. I'm not sure in terms of time commitment. You haven't talked about that. And also, I'm just curious, it's maybe hard to say yet, but how many people you anticipate being part of it? I mean, I know I, like many others, maybe just checking it out and not sure. So it's hard to know, but.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that. I will say that, so in terms of time commitment, choose your own adventure. There are a couple things we have learned to build into how we work so that pretty much everything is a revolving door. Even for example, like the Connect the Dots Club, you don't have to attend all of those conversations to get value. You can pop into one of those conversations and it will still be useful, and you'll get more value if you can get to all of them. And likewise, how our guilds work and how we set things up, even if you can't make the meetings, we always provide some sort of way of catching up so that, even if you've been out of the loop for quite a while, it's really easy to catch up and come back in. So in terms of time commitment, that's one of the things we've learned, I think, is number one with a bullet is everybody who's trying to do this is overtasked. And so figuring out how this can feel helpful and not like yet another thing to add to the schedule has been really important. In terms of how many people do we think are going to be involved, it's looking really good. Our goal was to cap it at 25 for 2020, capping 2025 at 25, leaning into the Dunbar numbers a little bit, and making sure that it's a small enough cohort that everyone can get to know each other. And right now, I think we are close to 20 that are pretty solidly committed. Again, lots of people, I would say of the 20, a third are in the, I have to see how my schedule works. So, take that for what it is. But I think we probably have a solid 20 who are on the yes, count me in, and probably 30, like plus another 10 who are generally interested and or we, are unsure. And it is also a revolving door in terms of we encourage you, invite your friends. And if you have a Confederate, if you have somebody who you might want to bring in on your project, inviting them to some of the Lifeboat Academy events might be a really good way of having, enlarging that conversation. So we do have space for it to grow. And I think that pretty much covers that. Any other questions?
I also just want to say I might have to leave a little early because I have a plane to catch this afternoon.
Okay. Any other questions for clarification? Well, cool. Then let's just go once through the circle, starting with Janine. And so, what's your so what so far? Where are you at?
The moment, I'm just very thankful for the information I got so far. I'm really curious, and I'm a little bit thinky about the project that could be mine. Curious to see what will happen. And off to Rebecca.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same place of like thinking about, projects that I'm already involved with or that I already know I need to do and how they might fit, and kind of excited about one of them. So I don't know if you want me to say what that is or if that's premature.
The time is yours.
I've written a novel about a woman who thinks time is speeding up, and she goes on a scientific and spiritual quest to try to save herself and her family and the world. And in it, there's a number of like scenes where she's slowing down or different, things are speeding her up or slowing her down. And I have a colleague who's asked me to lead a circle about those processes, like how do we slow down when we want to slow down, and what individual and cultural practices help us, and what's our relationship to time. And so I have to develop this workshop or whatever it's going to be, a circle 2-hour, session on it. And so I could use support and could maybe provide it also in, Zoom format. Over to Anne.
Where I am now is just excited to be part of this group. I can say that the Connected Dots Club was so fun last year, so I definitely recommend it if you want to play. And what Becca just shared about time is very relevant because I think my big focus this year is how to pace myself. And I get overwhelmed by the opportunities and to-dos so easily that I just want to be intentional and careful and wise about what I take on and courageous about what I need to let go of. And there's just from my experience last year with the Lifeboat Academy, there's so many places to be involved that there is even grief about like, I only have so much time in the day and this is really fun and I can't do it. So, yeah, I'll need to review my plan from last year to see where I am. And now that I know more, I can be more, I guess, yeah, this might be more action oriented. Whereas last year it was just like taking so much new ways of being in that's all I could do. Now I might have enough of that in me to be able to actually experiment. Over to Roland.
I'm really curious about how things will unfold over the year. I think this is the first time that we've really been able to communicate that the Lifeboat Builders our cohort is not about building the Lifeboat Academy, but about everybody's projects and how they can support and feed each other. Which doesn't exclude anyone who wants to become involved in the Lifeboat Academy proper. I just want to say right now, because and I like having that distinction because I'm involved in the land-based anchor point for the Lifeboat Academy here on Sedeus. And what we need is to work out how to make this place sustainable, not just sustainable, but also more permanent, which is a problematic word, but more stable. So the where I would look for support from the Lifeboat Builders cohort is we have this idea of what of that I hold dear to my heart of the pharmastery as sort of the having the experience of our lifeboat experience. There's a few of you who have actually been here to experience it, which was fantastic, and working out ways of having that as a way of being able to sustain and continue to be part of building a culture of reciprocity. And when I talk about building a culture of reciprocity, it's not the Lifeboat Academy per se, but rather living the Lifeboat Academy in such a way that it becomes an example for others to also increase their reciprocity with everything, all our relations. So over to Ben.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Likewise excited and curious to see where things will go, how things will come together. And I think Anne brought up part of it, there's a kind of interesting critical mass that has to happen. And this is part of the pharmastery is recognizing this is a transformative process. And one of our sayings is you have to learn to unlearn to relearn. The relearning part is the easiest. The learning to unlearn is the hardest. And there's a slow and awkward part to that. And but I think now we have it's something I've experienced personally. It's something Roland has experienced personally. It's something that several other people have experienced very personally in terms of the extended timeline of how these things work. I think to the point now where we can just be the example, of relaxing into. And Becca, I love your idea. And this is also, for me, there's the both and of how this works, of the mutual support, where we benefit. Helping you figure that out is a direct benefit to all of us, right? And I think that's how I was hearing what Roland was saying about the goal of the Lifeboat Academy is to live this example so well that it becomes an inspiration to want to live it in other places. And it's a hard message to deliver in words, but it's again, it's experiential learning at its core. Well, anyhow, I think bottom line, I'm excited and hopeful. And we have one more orientation session that is next Tuesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So that's still available if you have any friends that you want to point our way. The link, we can share the link well. And likewise, I will be sending out a follow-up to the short list that we have today about some next steps. Just because I want to get this video out there so that people who can't make it to the meetings can go. Roland, question.
Can we rejoin? Can we come to the next orientation session to
Oh, yeah, sure.
talk to the people and to meet other people, meet other members of the cohort? Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Obviously. It's all, nobody can tell you what to do. You're always welcome. No one's here to tell you what to do. That's great. So thank you all. We'll keep in the loop, and I look forward to seeing you again shortly. Bye.